3,000 years ago, a baby cried out, a cry that should have been silenced, a life that should have been drowned. But God had other plans. This is the story of Moses, the boy who became a prince, the fugitive who became a shepherd, the shepherd who became a prophet, the prophet who became God's voice. And tonight, we will walk his entire journey, from basket to burning bush, from palace to plagues, from miracles to mistakes, from weakness to glory. And when we reach the end, you may just discover that his story is also yours. Quick question before we begin. If you had to describe Moses in one word, what would it be? Drop it in the comments. Some of you might say leader, others might say reluctant, and maybe a few of you will write flawed. Hold on to your word, because by the end of this story, you might change your mind. To understand Moses, you must first understand Egypt, the greatest empire of its day, a kingdom of gold and blood, towering pyramids, endless temples, idols carved in stone, priests chanting to gods of sun, sky, and river, and in the shadows, a people enslaved, the Hebrews, the children of Abraham. For centuries they labored under the whips of Pharaoh, brick by brick, city by city. Their backs broke, their hands bled, their cries rose to heaven, and God heard them. Have you ever wondered if God hears the cries of the oppressed today? He does, and he did then. But first, before deliverance, came a decree. Pharaoh issued an order. Every Hebrew boy must be thrown into the Nile. It was genocide by decree. Can you picture that moment? Soldiers sweeping through the streets, Hebrew mothers clutching their newborns, the sound of doors breaking, the cries of fathers trying to protect their families. But one mother refused to surrender her child. She wove a basket out of reeds, sealed it with tar, and placed her baby inside. Her hands shook as she let the basket float on the Nile, her eyes filled with tears as the current carried him away. Parents watching this, have you ever had to let go of something you love, not knowing what would happen? It's terrifying, isn't it? And yet, that moment of surrender was the beginning of Moses' destiny. The basket drifted, not into danger, but into the hands of royalty. Pharaoh's own daughter found him, and in that moment, an adopted prince was born. Think about it. The very household that ordered his death became the one that raised him. Do you believe God can use your enemy's house to prepare your future? Because that's exactly what happened to Moses. He grew up in privilege, trained in wisdom, educated in the language of kings, skilled in the art of war, but inside he carried a secret identity. Egyptian by privilege, Hebrew by blood, two worlds, two destinies. One man caught in between. One day Moses walked among the Hebrew slaves. He saw an Egyptian overseer beating a man. Something inside him snapped. He looked left, he looked right, and in a burst of rage, he struck the Egyptian dead. He buried the body in the sand, thinking no one had seen, but word spread quickly. "Who made you ruler and judge over us?" one Hebrew asked. "Will you kill me as you killed the Egyptian?" Pharaoh heard. And Pharaoh wanted him dead. So Moses fled. A prince turned fugitive. He crossed the desert, alone, hungry, afraid. He found refuge in the land of Midian, married the daughter of a priest, became a shepherd of sheep, and for 40 years, nothing. Silence, obscurity, preparation. Have you ever felt that? Like your life is stuck in the wilderness? Like nothing is happening? Moses must have wondered if God was finished with him, but the wilderness was not the end. It was the training ground. Because one day, he saw a strange sight, a bush burning with fire, yet not consumed. He stepped closer, and a voice called his name. "Moses, Moses," he answered. "Here I am." And the voice said, "Take off your sandals, for the place you stand is holy ground." God was calling Moses back to Egypt, back to the palace he had fled, not as a prince, not as a fugitive, but as a deliverer. Moses stood before the fire. The flames danced, the branches glowed, but the bush was not consumed. Out of the fire came a voice. I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob." Moses trembled. He hid his face, afraid to look at God, but God spoke again. "I have seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard their cries, and I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people out." Moses froze. "Who am I, that I should go to Pharaoh? Have you ever asked that? Who am I? Why me? I'm not enough." God answered, "I will be with you." But Moses hesitated. "What if they do not believe me?" God gave him signs: a staff that turned into a snake, a hand that turned leprous and healed again, water that became blood. Still Moses resisted. "I cannot speak well. I am slow of tongue." Do you see yourself in that? Excuse after excuse, fear after fear. But God replied, "Who gave man his mouth? Now go, I will help you speak. I will teach you what to say." And still Moses whispered, "Please, send someone else." At that moment, God's anger burned, but he showed mercy. "Your brother Aaron shall speak for you. You will be my voice, and together you will confront Pharaoh." The shepherd of sheep was now the shepherd of a nation. Moses returned to Egypt, the land of his birth, the palace he once called home, and he stood before Pharaoh. He raised his voice and declared, "Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, let my people go." Pharaoh's eyes narrowed. "Who is the Lord that I should obey him? I do not know the Lord, and I will not let Israel go." Instead of freedom, Pharaoh increased the burden. "Make bricks without straw," he commanded. The people groaned. They cursed Moses. "You have made us a stench to Pharaoh. You have put a sword in his hand to kill us." Have you ever tried to obey God, and everything got worse before it got better? That's what happened here. But God encouraged Moses. "Now you will see what I will do to Pharaoh. With a mighty hand he will let them go. With a mighty hand he will drive them out." So again Moses and Aaron stood before Pharaoh. Miracle after miracle. Yet Pharaoh's heart was hard. He mocked. He resisted. He defied the God of heaven. And so the judgments began.
The Hebrews marched out of Egypt, but soon they found themselves trapped. The Red Sea before them, Pharaoh's army behind them. Panic set in. "Why did you bring us here to die?" they cried. Moses lifted his staff. The sea split. Walls of water towered on either side, and the people crossed on dry ground. When Pharaoh's army pursued, the waters closed. Egypt's power drowned in the sea. Can you imagine standing there? Wind whipping your face, water piled high, and then crashing down in thunder. On the other side, the people sang, "The Lord has triumphed gloriously. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea." But joy fades quickly. Thirst came, hunger came, fear came, and the people complained. "Why did you bring us out here to starve?" So God rained down bread from heaven, manna, sweet like honey. And when they thirsted, Moses struck a rock. Water poured out. Through every need, God provided. Then came Sinai. The mountain shook with thunder. Smoke rose like a furnace. A trumpet blast grew louder and louder. And God spoke, "I am the Lord your God. You shall have no other gods before me." 10 Commandments, a covenant written on stone. But even while the mountain burned, the people built a golden calf. They bowed before it. They said, "This is your God, O Israel." Do you ever wonder how people can see miracles and still doubt, still turn away, still fail? Moses shattered the tablets in rage. He burned the calf. He pleaded for the people, and God showed mercy. The wilderness became their home. Year after year, complaint after complaint. We miss Egypt. We miss the food. Why did you bring us here to die? Rebellion rose. Even Moses' own brother and sister opposed him. The people tested God, and God tested them. Yet through it all, miracles continued. A pillar of cloud by day, a pillar of fire by night, victory in battles, clothes that never wore out, shoes that never broke. But Moses carried a heavy burden. Again and again, he fell on his face before God, interceding for the people, pleading for mercy. Have you ever carried someone else's weight? felt the frustration of leading, while others only complain. Moses knew that pain, and even he stumbled. In anger, he struck the rock instead of speaking to it. And God told him, "You will not enter the promised land." Imagine that, a lifetime of sacrifice, and still not allowed to step in. But Moses kept going, faithful to the end. At 120 years old, Moses climbed Mount Nebo. From its peak, he looked out over the Jordan. He saw the hills, the valleys, the rivers, the land promised to his people. But he would not enter. There, on the mountain, he gave his last words. He blessed each tribe. He urged them to remember, "Choose life, that you and your children may live." And then, Moses died. The Lord himself buried him. And no one knows the place to this day, but his legacy endures. The lawgiver, the prophet, the man who spoke with God face to face. His story is not just history, it is a mirror. Because Moses was flawed, Moses was reluctant, Moses was human, and yet, God used him. And if God could use Moses, he can use you. So let me ask you, what will your legacy be? What will your story say? The prince who became God's voice still speaks today.